long to the edge of the box. That's headed on by Cher. Bounces down towards the dead ball line. Alexander-Arnold turns and volleys it, and it bounces out of play next to the corner flag. Yeah, big games next week, more Champions League. Liverpool, Real Madrid Tuesday night, live from Anfield. Ian Dennis is off to Germany this coming week with Manchester City. RB Leipzig, Manchester City, Wednesday night. And then Thursday, live from Old Trafford, Manchester United against Barcelona. 5 Live, the only place to hear all of that. Throw in, Burn, headed away by Gomez, comes out to the edge of the box. Shot from Almiron, took it down, but dragged it maybe a couple of feet wide of the foot of the post.
I've got to give Newcastle a lot of credit. They haven't thought we're 2 down, we've got 10 men. We haven't sort of sat back and parked the bus and thought damage limitation. They've stayed at it, and they've caused problems to Liverpool. And at half time, if I was anyhow, I'd be saying every set piece, put it in the box. You've won every header.
And if there was anyone who did actually only walk into the ground in the 23rd minute, you wouldn't necessarily know it was 11 against 10.
There's another great ball.
Ball over the top. Salah on the chase. Dubravka's able to come out to the, from his point of view, the left extreme of his penalty area and gather the ball into his chest. Yes, the England goalkeeper Nick Pope sent off in the 22nd minute for a handball outside the box. Anthony Taylor had a good view on it, right decision, and off he went. And he will miss the big event next weekend, which you'll also be able to hear with us on 5 Live from Wembley. Newcastle with St Maximin inside his own half. St Maximin, who's had some really good moments in the first half, but that is it. That is it. And this is an unusual experience for Newcastle United and their supporters here, watching the teams leave at half-time with the score 2-0 to the opposition.
I've got to say it's been a very good game, and I've got to give credit to Newcastle. They've stuck at it, they've caused problems, set pieces in particular, but they've not parked the bus and said, we'll stick to 2-0, we'll take the defeat. They're still chasing Liverpool, and there is goals in there for Newcastle. Liverpool have not been convincing to me. They look very, very dangerous on the counter-attack, Liverpool. I've got that. With a service the front three get, quality passes forward sometimes, especially Alexander-Arnold. So I can see more goals in the second half.
Yeah, had chances. Almiron, hair against the bar from Burn. But with that sending off of Nick Pope, Newcastle having to play, 3/4 of this match with 10 men. Nunez and Gakpo, the goal scorers. Half-time here on Tyneside. Newcastle United 0, Liverpool 2.
Earlier in the Premier League at lunchtime, Arsenal came from behind to beat Aston Villa by 4-2. And then at 3 o'clock, Nottingham Forest 1, Manchester City 1. So Arsenal 2 points clear at the top of the table with a game in hand. Elsewhere, Brentford 1, Crystal Palace 1, Fulham 1-0 at Brighton. Bottom of the table, Southampton won 1-0 at Chelsea. Everton beat Leeds by 1-0. Seamus Coleman with that goal. And Bournemouth got a much-needed win at Wolves by 1-0. In the Championship, Burnley are 11 clear at the top after beating Luton. Sheffield Wednesday atop of League One after they came from behind to beat MK Dons 5-2. And Plymouth drew at home with Fleetwood. Leyton Orient are 13 clear in League Two after they won, and Stevenage lost at Stockport. Celtic stay 9 clear in Scotland after both they and Rangers won this afternoon. During the half-time, we'll have plenty of reaction to those Premier League games. You'll hear from James Ward-Prowse, Graham Potter, Steve Cooper and Sean Dyche and Gary O'Neill as well. The cricket on Sports Extra earlier. England made it 3 wins from 3 after beating India by 11 runs at the Women's T20 World Cup. Anna Mountford is currently watching Australia-South Africa.
And they've restricted South Africa to 124 for 6, the tournament favourites. The hosts will be a little disappointed after they were 54 without loss. Perry dismissed the dangerous Wolfhard for 19 before Darcy Brown got stolen around a cap for 0. Brits played well for 45, but wickets fell at regular intervals. An Australia win would guarantee them top and also would mean that England would likely avoid them in the semi-finals. Australia will be chasing 125.
A reaction from all the day's Premier League football to come after Jill McKenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Rishi Sunak's told a major security summit in Germany that Western powers must double down in their support for Ukraine. He urged world leaders to send the most advanced weapons to Kyiv to help it secure its long-term future. The Prime Minister's also warning that a new deal on trading arrangements in Northern Ireland is by no means done. Reports suggested an agreement was imminent, but after talks with the President of the European Commission, Mr Sunak said there's still work to do. The The United States has condemned the launch of a suspected intercontinental ballistic missile by North Korea earlier today. Japan said it landed in the sea after flying for just over an hour. And coach passengers returning to the UK from Calais are facing waits of up to 6.5 hours at the border. Several ferry operators say the delay is because of strike action by UK Border Force staff in Calais, but the Home Office disputes that.
The Albert Park Circuit. Longitude and latitude 144.9, 51035 degrees east, 37.8, 501 degrees south, 3.280 miles in length, 14 turns. Are you ready for F1?
Coming soon to 5 Live
and Radio 5 Sports Extra.
This is 5 Live Sport.
Let's bring you as much reaction as we can to the 3 o'clock games. We'll start at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 0, Southampton 1. Graham Potter with John Southall.
Graham, just give us your assessment. What must have been a frustrating afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I thought first half we were below par against Southampton that had a good structure, a good plan. They mixed the game up well, but still our performance level wasn't at the level I think that you need to win.
Do you know why that was?
Well, a combination of a few things, I think. It's always complicated returning from the Champions League. We had to make some changes. There's a little bit of lack of fluidity, a little bit of cohesion maybe we lacked. I don't think it's from a lack of effort. It's just that we weren't quite where I think we can be. I think the second half shows that, because we played a lot better and we responded well. And then second half we have to score. It's the chances that we have. You can't expect to win if you don't score those chances. So there's a combination of a few things that make it a really difficult and disappointing afternoon for us.
As you say, another game with no goals scored. How concerning is that now becoming for you?
Well, it's always concerning, because if you don't score, you don't win. And that's the reality of football. Like I said, we've had a period where we've created chances and we're just not converting. We've taken some steps forward in terms of our performance, but after the first half, it's a bit of a setback for us, because the second half was good, but we're heavily punished after the first half, and we didn't get at the goal in the second half, and like I said, disappointed with that.
James Ward-Prowse got Southampton's winner here again. He is with John.
Huge difference. It's been a real chaotic week for us. There's been a lot of outside noise, a lot of stuff for us to deal with, and we know how young the squad is and how difficult a moment that we're in. So challenging more than ever, but Ruben's come in and really steadied the ship and given us a bit of clarity and direction in what we want to do, and you could feel that belief from minute one today, and the game plan worked. I think every manager you play under has different philosophies, and Ruben's is different, but we worked on it a lot during the week. We had a lot of detail in and out of possession, and ultimately it paid off today. And sometimes when in this position, it's not necessarily about the tactics or the quality, it's about the heart and desire to win games.
Tell us about the goal. One behind David Beckham. I'm sure you're aware of that. That surely is a record that will be yours soon.
I hope so, yeah. But more importantly, I hope it contributes towards wins and points for us. That's the main thing. It's always the team goals over any individual ones, but if it comes, great.
Nottingham Forest got a late equaliser against Manchester City through Chris Wood. Here is his manager, Steve Cooper.
Well, perfect is winning, but for sure ended up being a positive result. Listen, when you play against City, you have to sacrifice your ideals. You have to. For me, they're the best team in the world. I know they've got amazing title race going at the top end. Not that I'm paying that much attention to that, but when you plan to play against them and you study them even more than what we already know about them, it's fascinating and intriguing to see what they do. We sacrificed, as I said, our ideals. We just wanted to stay in the game for as long as we could. First half, defensively, we were good. Disappointed with the goal, but really disappointed with VAR. I feel like Joe Worrell's been really kicked in the head at a low weight, below chest height. And anywhere on the pitch, it's a free kick. If the referee's missed it, then VAR has to intervene on it. But I'm not going to hide behind the fact that City had some good chances, well, more than good chances in the second half. But so grateful to the players for sticking to our plan for the day. And we said half time, it was hard, it was tough, but stay in the game for as long as you can, and we will get a moment. And luckily we did.
Let's head to Goodison next. We heard from Michael Skubala on Sports Report after Leeds' 1-0 defeat at Goodison. We can get the Everton point of view from Sean Dyche.
You want players to play with freedom, but there has to be the basics. You know, strong, fit and organised is something I believe in as a coach manager. I've never gone away from that as a base, as I call it. But from that, you have the freedom to go and play, and I thought there was good signs of that today. There were some really good movements, some really good passing and fluid passing to open up situations. The final finish wasn't quite there, but that comes, you know, hopefully with the work that they're doing and the belief in the camp. But I just believe they have to have the basics in place, and we're learning about that, and the players here are learning about that, and they've certainly delivered it. You know, certainly so far, since I've been here, they've listened, they've absorbed, and they've been delivering it, both on the training pitch and in games.
Marcus Tavernier got the only goal of the game at Molineux as Bournemouth won 1-0 to go out of the bottom three. Here's Gary O'Neill with Martin Fisher.
How good does it feel to win again?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Performance was good. Needed a little bit of help after the first half. Wolves had a little bit of control, and yeah, we didn't manage to get up the pitch as much as I would have liked. So managed to switch a few things around, and I thought the boys were very good second half. I thought first half they showed that they could dig in and hang in when it isn't going your way, and then second half I thought we looked like a real dangerous team. Can still brush up on some certain moments. We let Wolves off on some real good counter-attacking situations, but yeah, defended the box well against sort of percentage balls. They chucked balls in, 2 big centre forwards on at the end that the lads had to stand up to, and yeah, proud what they deserved. We knew the questions that Wolves were gonna ask. The boys were prepped and understood what it was going to look like, and yeah, I thought Jack Stevens and Marcos Senesi were excellent in the middle of the back four. I thought they defended everything that came in. Boys in front of them worked their socks off, and we looked to threat. We could have been more of a threat. There's still bits that I was like, we can definitely be better than that, but as you know, when we needed to win a game, and we've come away from home to a team that are in real good form and won an away game in the Premier League, which is big for us. So we move on, prep for next week.
Let's go back to the lunchtime game. Arsenal coming from behind to beat Aston Villa by 4-2. Arsenal's fourth goal came after Emi Martinez went up for a Villa corner. Here's Unai Emery.
I am very, very disappointed. It is embarrassing as well for me is the last goal, because I've never told my goalkeeper to go one corner to score a goal, because maybe one time of 100 times can score, and maybe 20 times than 100 can receive one transition and receive a goal, and today was the sample. And it's not the spirit. We have to keep our mind clear, smart. We have to progress in the area we are working. We have to break, of course, taking confidence, but sometimes making mistakes, you have to improve.
Plenty to watch on Match of the Day tonight. 10:20, Alan Shearer and Micah Richards alongside Gary for that. Plenty for you to react to as well. And I'm sure Mick Beale is on his way home from Rangers' win at Livingston. So, Mick, the number is 08085 909 693. Here are Robbie and Chris.
Yeah, thanks for that. Chuba's now going to the worst Chelsea player in the history. They can't score goals, Chris. Chelsea.
Yeah, but you were the worst Manchester United reserve player in the history, and that's worse. Go on, Gary.
Chelsea haven't scored a goal. Graham Potter, massive pressure.
Yeah, I just want to hear from Chelsea fans. Is it going to happen for Graham Potter? It sort of feels like it may not. Arsenal, how important was there when Manchester City slipping up at Nottingham Forest? You actually did that game. You called that one. Want to hear from Southampton fans and Leeds United fans. You haven't got a permanent manager in place just yet. Do your clubs, Southampton especially? Ruben Selles seems to be the obvious candidate. I think the players are behind him, the fans want him. And Everton, Sean Dyche winning. And we want to hear from referees out there because of the decline in refereeing at grassroots level. Every weekend they're suffering physical and verbal abuse. Want to hear your stories and experiences, referees.
All that from the SJA nominee for Pundit of the Year. Wow, must be a very, very poor shortlist. 08085 909 693. But, Christopher, the big thing, Arsenal and Man City. Can United win the title?
You're talking about Manchester United?
Can they win the title?
I don't think so, but I mean, what a game it was on Thursday evening, wasn't it? I mean, you were there.
Yeah, big pundits on those games.
Against Barcelona, not nominated, though, for the award, were you? But yeah, you were on that game. Can Manchester United win the title? I'm not so sure they can, Rob.
What about in the Championship? Burnley, Burnley are going up, aren't they?
Yeah, Burnley are absolutely flying. Sheffield United, they lost today, I think. Didn't they, Sheffield United? I think they did. But no, look, I think sort of the big story of the day, well, there's numerous big stories. Graham Potter, that whole Chelsea situation. I think it's worrying for Chelsea. Lost to Dortmund, wasn't it?
1-0. Chelsea played well.
Yeah, and whatever he says, Graham Potter, the club have assembled a big squad of players, brought a lot of players in, spent an absolute fortune. Is he getting the most out of the players? When is time up for Graham Potter?
And what about one of the best title races in the world? The National League, Notts County and Wrexham. Wrexham are getting a last-minute winner at Aldershot, 4-3. You don't like Wrexham, do you?
Yeah, I've got nothing against Wrexham.
Oh.
What do you mean by that?
I'm just saying. 08 085 909 693. Oh, let's go back then to John Murray, who's with Chris Waddle.
Thank you, Robbie. Yes, looking forward to hearing you and Chris later. The teams are just coming back out onto the pitch in the rain at St James's Park. Liverpool already out there. Here come Newcastle, but they've got an awful lot to do in the second half. 10 men against the 11 of Liverpool, Chris Waddle.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult, but I've got to say I've been impressed with the attitude of Newcastle. They haven't sat back, they haven't thought damage limitation, they've gone for it. Every set piece, I think that's their best way out. Every set piece they've won when it's gone in the Liverpool box. But Liverpool with that front three and the pace they've got and the deliveries and some of the service they've had, you can see them adding as well to their total.
So teams ready for the start of the second half. No substitutions. So Newcastle 0, Liverpool 2. The early goals both in the first 20 minutes from Nunez and Gakpo for Liverpool, and Newcastle reduced to 10 men in the 22nd minute for Nick Pope's handball outside of his penalty area. And the teams, Newcastle with substitute Dubravka now in goal, Trippier, Schär, Botman and Byrne, Almiron, Longstaff and Joe Linton, and then Isak and Saint-Maximin. Newcastle kick off in the second half, playing from left to right towards the Gallagate end, and it's very quickly found its way to Isak on the left-hand side, who plays it in field and then wins it back inside the box. Isak back now centrally to Longstaff, square to Trippier. Trippier curls an aerial ball in. Isak heads that along the edge of the 6-yard box, but Alisson is very quickly out to gather.
Great start by Newcastle from the off, haven't they? They've asking questions already, but it's Liverpool's, and it's up to Liverpool how this game decides for me. But they've given a silly free kick. This has got to go in the box for me. Put it in the box. You've won every header.
Fouled by Nunez on Schär, who was advancing into the Liverpool half. So this is almost 10 yards inside Liverpool territory. And Chris Waddle sitting with me here at St James's Park, making the point in the first half that Liverpool hardly winning a header inside their own penalty area, certainly from the 5 corners that Newcastle had. Trippier plays it in. That's one of his poorest deliveries I can remember from Trippier. Easily cleared away by Liverpool, and now Salah's racing away downfield. He's shoulder to shoulder with Almiron, who bounces off him twice, but then is able to put the ball out of play with his left foot.
He's got to get in the weight room, Salah. There, he got pushed over nearly, didn't he?
Well, there's nothing on Almiron, is there? I mean, he's like a greyhound, but I think he's got that wiry strength, hasn't he? Newcastle 0, Liverpool 2, and Liverpool with Alisson in goal, Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk and Robertson. Matip's on the bench today. Henderson, Fabinho and Bajcetic, Salah, Gakpo and Nunez. And Liverpool, with this scoreline, would be going within 6 points of Newcastle. And actually the other side of that is that Tottenham, who play tomorrow, that's one of our 2 commentary matches tomorrow, Tottenham against West Ham, now in the relegation zone. If Tottenham win that, they'll go into the top 4. They'll knock Newcastle out of the top 4 with this scoreline. But we've still got just under half the match to play. Henderson playing the ball over the top down the right-hand side, and then stretching for it, Alexander-Arnold, defenders there with him. Joe Linton comes out with it, he clears the ball into his own man, Alexander-Arnold plays it across the box, and the referee stopped play. I'm not sure, that is a head injury, and he clattered the ball out. That must be Dan Byrne who had hit.
Long way to fall.
Yes, who's gone down. I think he was caught. No, he was caught in the face. The little television screen in front of us shows he was caught possibly on the nose, and so it is a head injury. So the referee was right to stop.
Yeah, he's done the right thing. But
So lines are open to talk to Robbie and Chris. 08085 909 693 to book your call for the 606 phone in on 5 Live later. There will be more live sport, by the way, later. Live from Nottingham tonight, the Lee Wood fight against the Mexican Mauricio Lara, world title fight. Mark Chapman amused me earlier when he said that one of the quotes from Mauricio Lara in advance of that fight was that all English people are chickens. So we'll see what develops tonight, 10 o'clock on 5 Live. Real Madrid are playing Osasuna tonight. That's Liverpool's opposition in the Champions League on Tuesday night. And then the test match resumes in the morning. I guess almost certainly by the time you wake up in the morning, England will have won that, so you'll be able to get the TMS podcast after the close of play from BBC Sounds. Dan Burn has received lengthy treatment, and I think he's okay to take his place back on the field as Newcastle played out from the back. Yeah, Burn is back on, and it's played forward now up towards Isaac, but Fabinho is able to come in there and clear it to the halfway line. Alan St-Maximin collecting possession inside his own half and setting off on one of those Alan St-Maximin runs. He's beaten Fabinho brilliantly, still bouncing for him. Bajcetic chases, and he's taken it up almost to the edge of the penalty area. Now Trippier on the right-hand side beats Nunez in the challenge, but Robertson steps in, and across comes Trippier to block it out of play for a throw-in level with the edge of the Liverpool penalty area to the visitors.
Brilliant run by St-Maximin, wasn't it? He picks it up, 25 yards in his own half, carries it basically nearly all the way to about that 25 yards from the Liverpool goal. But it's difficult, and you can see, John, even with 11 men, they don't create a great deal, Newcastle. And we've noticed over the last couple of months, haven't we, where they've not scored a lot of goals. And
Liverpool coming forward with Salah on the right-hand side. Salah ring at Burn, looking for the overlap. It's Henderson. Henderson arrives, crosses it to the back post. Trippier was able to head it away in between Nunez and the arriving Robertson. Bajcetic just outside the box. Back to Robertson on the left-hand side, and Liverpool go infield again to the teenager. You like him, Chris, Bajcetic?
Yeah, you can see he's got a lot of potential, and we'll see how he develops, but at the minute, he doesn't look out of place.
No, the 18-year-old Stefan Bajcetic, born in Spain, Spanish youth international, came through at Celta Vigo before moving to the Liverpool Academy, and now very much a fixture. You'd expect him actually to be playing in the Champions League against Real Madrid on Tuesday night. Real Madrid, the European champions after the events in Paris last season, at the end of last season, which have been in the news this week. It'll be very interesting to see what results from that report into the problems around the final. Liverpool with Van Dijk in possession. Steady rain now on Tyneside. Very often here it blows into our faces, but remarkably we're staying dry. Ball in towards Salah. Salah goes down. I'm not sure there was much contact there from Botman. Anthony Taylor says play on. Liverpool in possession, but then there's a foul on Joe Linton, and Newcastle have a free kick halfway inside their own half.
I still think Jurgen Klopp will think there's a lot more to come from this side. I think they're 2-0 up, and so wonderful, great goals, I've got to say, brilliant finishes. But overall, against 10 men in Newcastle, there's nothing between them.
2-0 to Liverpool. The other talking point at half-time was which goalkeeper will play for Newcastle in the cup final next weekend. And the consensus seemed to be that it would be Loris Karius, even though he's not played in a competitive match for Newcastle yet. St-Maximin, cross, low to the edge of the penalty area where Isaac turned, but hit the shot on the turn, maybe 2 feet over the top left corner.
Great play by Newcastle. Trippier gives it to St-Maximin, who's had a very good game today. Great delivery, but again, they just don't see that. We don't see that composure from the Newcastle forwards. They will come. You see Nunez goal, you see the other goal. The two Liverpool goals, clinical, very good finishing, and you think give them another chance, they'll put it away. Don't see that Newcastle.
Liverpool attacking down the left-hand side. Nunez is there, in slides Trippier, and as Nunez went to ground, he did catch Kieran Trippier, possibly with his knee in the face. They were close together, and he's just been caught. He put his hands to his face, the Newcastle captain, and now the top of his head as well. Nunez has also stayed down, and the two of them will need to have treatment. Trippier is just checking to see if there's any blood there. He's walking away from the incident, and Nunez has stayed down on his back.
Yeah, he stayed down. Yes, as you say, Trippier's got up, and I think he'll be all right, Nunez.
The televisions have gone on the blink in the commentary positions. Nothing's going right for Newcastle today.
No.
I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it? I was here for the second leg against Southampton when they won their way through to the final, and there was such optimism. But they've gone on a run now without Bruno Guimaraes, who was sent off in that match, who finishes his suspension today, but they've drawn the 2 previous matches. May well lose this. Trippier's walking off the field. Nunez is now...
I think Firmino's getting changed, isn't he? Nunez fell awkwardly, John. I saw the replay there. He's landed on his shoulder quite heavily from the challenge, and he banged his head and his shoulder. So whether he's had enough...
Well, he's been helped along the touchline here. Jurgen Klopp is asking down in front of us, clapping his hands together. He's trying to find out what the deal is, and he's telling them...
He's told him, get back on, he said.
Get back on, which he is now. So it's back to 10 against 11. And Nunez doesn't look at Jurgen Klopp as he runs to the halfway line, so he's obviously determined to continue. Ball played forward to Van Dijk, who stretches and heads it under pressure from Isak behind. That's a cheap corner conceded by Van Dijk. And Van Dijk, very cleverly there, has actually just gone behind. There was a ball behind the goal, and Van Dijk, as he was running off the field, saw the ball and popped it back on the field. So that
now the referee sees this. Why do they do anything about it? They never do anything about it, do they? So
that was so Newcastle couldn't take a quick corner, and it is a corner though. Liverpool struggled with the corners, the Newcastle corners in the first half. Let's see what happens with this one. In it comes from Trippier. It's a deep one to the back post, which is headed across the face of goal by Cher. That was a big chance, and again Liverpool are nowhere aerially in their box for a Newcastle corner, and Cher should have scored.
I'm sure Real Madrid will be making notes, I can tell you that. But that's why has he not hit the target at least? I mean, Byrne hit the crossbar first half from a header, doesn't he? And I mean, the amount of free headers, and that was inside the 6-yard box.
People will look at the score, switch on the radio here. Liverpool are winning 2-0, but even though they're with 10 men,
nothing in it.
This could easily be level.
Yeah, definitely.
As Joe Gomez misplaces a pass out of play. Firmino is going to come on. Whether they've had a look at Darwin Nunez. You see huge drops of rain coming down off the roof of the Milburn stand, which is way, way above our heads, with the floodlights shining down. Joe Linton now infield. Almiron now playing in a more defensive position after the sending off of Pope, dropped back into midfield role. Now Trippier on the right hand side. Trippier moves away from Nunez. Darwin on the back of his shirt, we can see clearly as they run away from us, and then Trippier is tripped, and it's a free kick to Newcastle, forward and right of the centre circle. Firmino's receiving instructions from Jurgen Klopp, 2 of them in discussions. Jurgen Klopp, big black coat, black baseball cap with the liver bird crest in the middle of it. And Newcastle getting themselves sorted for this free kick.
Jota's coming on as well.
And Jota, who came on Monday against Everton's missed so much of this season. Trippier plays this free kick in above the head of Cher, only half-headed away. Comes out for Newcastle, a stretch on the far side for Longstaff, but Liverpool were able to clear. High ball to the centre circle. Trippier won the header against Salah. Then it's headed forward by Byrne. And St Maximin in possession, but goes down. He was pulling the shirt of Fabinho as well, but referee Taylor allows play to continue. Robertson low, rolls it forward towards Nunez, into the penalty area now on the left-hand side. On his right foot, shoots, and Dubravka down to his left. Makes a very good save, the Slovakian goalkeeper.
4 substitutes are coming on.
4.
I've got to say, I don't think Jurgen Klopp, and that was a great save, by the way. Oh, he's gone down again, Nunez. I don't think Jurgen Klopp will say Liverpool have played well today. I think he's disappointed in what he saw. I know they're 2-0 up, he'll take the points, but they have not played well.
Well, you'll hear him. That's the plan, to bring you Jurgen Klopp and Eddie Howe during the course of 6:06, the live interviews from down in the tunnel area. But it's going to be a quadruple substitution for Liverpool. Not yet, though, because it's a corner that they've got. Milner, Elliott, Jota and Firmino. And actually, as Chris says, Nunez is sat down inside the penalty area, so we'll have a little stoppage here. Why does it always seem to be the games that I'm commentating on that they make quadruple substitutions? Like Mario Balotelli, why always me?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Gakpo,
who's got his second goal in 2 matches.
Jota
to replace him. So Diogo Jota coming on, came on with 20 minutes to play on Monday night.
Nunes is a third for Firmino.
And by Chetic, I think it'll give us a bit of a clue, won't it, as to who's going to be in the team against Real Madrid, these substitutions.
Henderson as well.
Darwin Nunez, as we suspected. And you say Henderson for Milner, yeah? Yeah, Henderson coming off, so Milner is being given the captain's armband. So James Milner, one of his old clubs, Newcastle United. I mean, it seems like decades ago, doesn't it, that James Milner was playing for Newcastle.
It was.
Well, it probably was. And so that is the quadruple change. 2-0 up, playing against 10 men, 4 substitutions.
Is he thinking about Real Madrid?
Who, Klopp?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Corner from the right. So I'm saying, Chris, I'm sure those 4, I think you can write them into your starting lineup on Tuesday, 4 who've come off. Throwing corner taken by Alexander-Arnold to Elliott, who plays it across, but that's blocked out of the penalty area. Comes back to Fabinho, and then it was missed actually by Joe Linton, but Alexander-Arnold wasn't expecting that, and it dropped over Joe Linton's head and was deflected behind by Alexander-Arnold for a goal kick. So it is Newcastle United 0, Liverpool 2. Chris Waddle.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are still very much in this game. If they can get a goal and get this crowd going, really backed them again tonight. I feel sorry for a bit for Newcastle. I think they've played very well. They've got 10 men. Unfortunately for Pope, what's he doing there?
It's poor clearance by Dubravka. Alexander-Arnold with the cross, but hits it into the first man, Joe Linton. It's out of play for a throw over on the far side. And the Newcastle...
Well, I think they'll be looking to freshen it up as well with 2 or 3 substitutions.
They're in discussions. So the Liverpool with Van Dijk forward towards Jota, and now Robertson on the left-hand side. Well, Newcastle playing against 11 men who've just brought on 4 new fresh bodies. You would think Newcastle will make the changes, but we'll see. Anthony Gordon on the bench again for Newcastle here, the recent signing from Everton. Here's Van Dijk. Van Dijk over the halfway line, and then Robertson infield towards Firmino, and now Robertson again, his cross. Dubravka comes for it, didn't get there. Salah was after it, it just seemed to drift away from him. He was trying to take it in his gloves. That could easily have resulted in a penalty, but he got a little touch on it. And now at the other end, Alan Saint-Maximin into the box.
He's 37 years old.
But shooting wildly wide from the left side of the box with defenders chasing.
Good counter-attack again, Saint-Maximin, who's done very well tonight, I've got to say. He's played as a team player, which sometimes he gets criticised for not, but he has really put a shift in tonight. He's gone on his left foot there, difficult handle, high and wide.
So goal kick to Liverpool. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. All the reaction as ever on the Football Daily podcast, 5 Live Football Daily podcast in the morning. Watch all the action on Match of the Day tonight on BBC One or any time online via the iPlayer. You'll see, if you watch it tonight, 2 very good goals from Liverpool, well taken by Nunez and Gakpo. And you'll see a number of misses from Newcastle as well. Ball over the top, Gomez taking this down, Gomez passing it across the penalty area to Alisson, who made a couple of important saves as well in the first half, we should say. Milner's crossfield pass, a little fortunate, came off the head of Isak, but lands for Robertson, who can continue to bring it forward for Liverpool. Firmino now, Roberto Firmino, who's missed a big chunk of this season as well, out to the left-hand side to Robertson, whose low ball across is gathered up by Dubravka, making his first Premier League appearance of the season, having coming on as a substitute for Newcastle when Pope was sent off. Isak stands on the ball in the centre circle. Liverpool have got it back. Fabinho now. Firmino. Jota turns. He's not scored in 22 appearances for Liverpool. Diogo Jota missed the World Cup with the injury that kept him out. Firmino wins the ball back. Now Jota, left side of the area. Jota against Trippier. Left foot right across the 6-yard box. but out of play for a throw near the corner flag.
Well, Firmino, since he's come on, showed some lovely touches, hasn't he? Class act. Jota there, goes on the outside of Trippier, that's a shot. He's gone for the near post, he's mishit it slightly, it's gone out of a throw in on the right-hand side.
So after Liverpool made their quadruple substitution, Newcastle are going to make a triple substitution. Murphy, Gordon and Wilson are going to come on, unless there's someone else hiding under the roof of the dugout down there. Isak, replaced by Callum Wilson, who was doubtful for this match.
Isak's done okay. Doesn't look like he's going to score though many goals, I've got to say. Doesn't look like a natural type finisher, but he puts the shift in.
Callum Wilson's on, the number 9, scored in the last match here against West Ham, the 1-1 draw.
Almiron's off.
And Almiron will be replaced by Jacob Murphy. And now Gordon comes on as well. Anthony Gordon, just his 3rd appearance for Newcastle United, all 3 of them as a substitute. And who's coming off? Is that Trippier?
Yeah,
it is.
So Murphy will play right back. They may go to 3 at the back.
Cher, Botman and Byrne.
Yeah.
To try and get something out of this. And
Gordon on the left, Gordon on the left, and Murphy on the right. Yeah.
He's taken a couple of knocks as well, Trippier, hasn't he, in this match? A couple on his head, or thereabouts. So again, Newcastle's next match, the cup final. They certainly wouldn't want to be without Kieran Trippier. Free kick to Newcastle, halfway inside their own half. Kieran Trippier's being applauded off in front of the Lees' end at the moment. Longstaff playing the ball across to Murphy here on the right-hand side. Murphy slips it forward to Longstaff. But again, Newcastle have missed the all-round skills of Bruno Guimaraes. Again, it's been a serious loss for them. They've in the matches that he's not played this season, 5 matches, Bruno Guimaraes in the Premier League, they've not won any of them. Drawn 4, lost 1, and they'll likely not win this one either. Joe Linton getting it back, runs through the middle, right foot shot, deflected well away from goal and wide by Van Dijk, but up for throw for Newcastle down the right-hand side. That Jacob Murphy has got. Newcastle's number 23, 8th consecutive match that he's come on as a substitute. And he was born in Wembley, so there's a story there if he's able to come on and do something next week as well. Ball up towards Anthony Gordon. Gordon back to Longstaff. Longstaff turning away from Firmino. He was fouled there by Milner, but referee Taylor plays the advantage. Gordon back to Murphy, and he's eventually brought it back.
Brought it back, foul it was, and Longstaff. So, again, Trippier's now on the field. But they need a delivery here, because this is their best way of scoring a goal, I think, for Newcastle tonight, a set piece.
Well, Anthony Gordon's capable of delivering, isn't he? We saw him do that for Everton.
Yeah.
So he's just pulling his black Newcastle socks over the top of his knees. Anthony Gordon, 22 before the cup final, 22 next Friday. He has a look over his shoulder. Jason Tindall just had a word from him. Blonde highlights on top. Hair a little shorter, actually. I think he's had a haircut since I last saw him. Gordon coming up to take this free kick, right-footed, swings it in towards the back post, it's headed away. Van Dijk got to that, and an offside flag up against Newcastle. So a free kick to Liverpool inside their own box. Chris Waddle with just over a quarter of the match to play. Newcastle 0, Liverpool 2, and the line's open to talk to Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton on 08 085 909 693 on 606, the 5 Live Football phone in.
Yeah, I've been looking at the game, John, all the day, and Newcastle have done very well. 10 men for a long period, and Liverpool have not cut them apart where you think Liverpool should be on 4, 5, 6 goals. No, there's nothing in it, and it just makes you wonder if Newcastle could have stayed 11v11.
Liverpool fans singing their songs, thousands of them here. Got a very good record, Liverpool, against Newcastle. And they're going to continue that unless Newcastle can do something about this. Gomez playing it through though for Liverpool. Backheeled by Robertson on the edge of the penalty area after he took it. Liverpool come again. Alexander-Arnold's cross though is blocked by the feet of Byrne. And Dan Byrne takes the ball out towards the far side in front of the East stand. Longstaff now being put under pressure. In fact, he's lost it. Salah's nicked it away. Jota is tackled well by Longstaff, but Salah's taken it up. Salah into the box. Left foot ball clipped across the penalty area. That's headed away by Botman. Out to Fabinho. Suddenly Liverpool are all over Newcastle, and Elliott shoots across goal, but I think rather mis-hit that, and it sort of wobbled goalwards, where Dubravka was able to make the catch.
Yeah, a comfortable save, wasn't it? Joe Linton's gone down now.
Now another problem for Newcastle. Joe Linton, whether it's what the issue here is.
Hamstring, I think.
Well, if that's a hamstring, that's him out of the cup final.
Yes, it's cramped.
Well,
Newcastle, it's hamstring the way he's looking, talking.
Yeah. Well, on come the Newcastle medical people.
I think Newcastle want this game abandoned.
As I say, Chris, a couple of weeks ago, being here full of optimism ahead of the cup final, Newcastle were in great form. Manchester United, yes, good form as well. But now things have changed rather. Nick Pope won't be able to play. He'll be suspended for the cup final.
Goes down to squads, John, as well, doesn't it? Who's got the strongest squad? I'd say Man United.
However, this is Newcastle's last match before the cup final, so they have a week to prepare for the cup final. Manchester United have the little matter of Barcelona on Thursday.
Well, it's a big occasion, though, isn't it, when Newcastle go to Wembley? Expectations are massive.
Yeah, but Manchester United haven't won anything for 6 years.
Yeah, 5 years, 6 years. But they know to win trophies, and I don't think there's that much pressure as much on Man United as in Newcastle.
Newcastle, who've not won any senior major trophy since 1969, not won a domestic trophy since 1955. And Joe Linton has been taken off the pitch. Eddie Howe, there'll be concern about that. I think, that's it. He's not going to be able to continue, so he's called Matt Ritchie, I think. Yeah. Matt Ritchie has been called forward by Eddie Howe. I see Eddie Howe as well, black armbands on. It was a really emotional moment actually before the game when we had the tribute to Christian Atsu, and many people here at the club, were colleagues, work friends with Christian Atsu. Yeah. Desperate. Virgil van Dijk was just caught there as he was playing the ball out of play. Anthony Gordon, I think it was, so that's former Everton on the Liverpool great, and Van Dijk ends up sitting on his backside and doesn't look best pleased with that, and Anthony Taylor's having a word with Anthony Gordon. But Joe Linton is going to walk off the field now. He did come back on, but he's applauded off, and so we'll have to wait and see what Eddie Howe says, whether it's a serious issue with Joe Linton. The two of them are talking there together. Eddie Howe to Joe Linton, who looks a little downcast. I have to say, the expression on his face, it looks like a man who knows that playing in the cup final could be a problem.
Well, it's just building up tonight, isn't it? Newcastle need that final whistle.
So Liverpool leading by 2-0, and Newcastle's run of 16 matches here at St James's Park in all competitions unbeaten looks as though it's coming to an end. And also this long run in all league matches unbeaten, joint club record run, 2-0 down. They have had chances but not able to take them, and Dubravka now clearing out for a throw into Liverpool on the far side. So Matt Ritchie coming on for what is only his 5th appearance of the season. He's not played since you and I saw him in the defeat at Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup. Sheffield Wednesday, the only team that's been able to score 2 goals against Newcastle in a match since Liverpool did in that game at Anfield back in August. Van Dijk bringing the ball forward, but turning and giving it back to Milner, who chips the ball up into the air with the spray coming off it from this winter rain on Tyneside. Elliott now on the right-hand side, through towards the edge of the box to Jota. Newcastle headed away on the edge of the penalty area, and then it's played further away via a deflection out of play by Ritchie for a throw into Newcastle near the halfway line. Just under 20 minutes to play. Newcastle United 0, Liverpool 2, the 10 men of Newcastle. And Newcastle, Manchester United next weekend, then it's Manchester City in Manchester in the league after that, and then Wolves at home. Those are the next matches for Newcastle. But tomorrow, with this scoreline, it is possible they could find themselves out of the top 4. Newcastle have not finished in the top 4 in the Premier League since Sir Bobby Robson was the manager 20 years ago. It's a really touching scene, wasn't it, before the game?
Yeah,
all of the Bobby Robson flags that were held up. It would have been his 90th birthday today. Yeah. Your old manager with England, Chris.
Yeah, 5 years. I had to with 85. He gives me first cap, and I was sad to see him go leave the England job because I only got one more cap after that. But no, he was great. He loved managing England. He was very patriotic, very loyal to the squad I was with.
Liverpool in possession. Alexander-Arnold playing it back into central defence, and Van Dijk now to the left-hand side. Milner. Game's just gone to sleep a little over the course of the last 5-10 minutes or so. We've had the stoppages. Liverpool have still got the 2-0 lead. Newcastle haven't been able to make any inroads. Gomez on the right. Gomez, low pass forward towards Salah. And then back to Alexander-Arnold. Classic Liverpool this. Salah, back to Alexander-Arnold. Salah's off on the run. Alexander-Arnold plays it over the top. And in the end, Burn has actually been able to put it out of play for a throw-in to Newcastle, deep inside their own left-back position. Newcastle waiting to take this throw, which they do. Anthony Gordon, little touch from him. And then Longstaff, who's got red shirts all around him, but manages to find the pass to Callum Wilson through the middle. Now Murphy on the right-hand side. Murphy through to Gordon. Touch from him with the outside of his right heel back to Murphy. Turns 360 degrees away from Firmino. Passes it to Burn on the left-hand side. Now to Ritchie out there on the far side. Ritchie goes back to the halfway line, and the Newcastle central defenders are in possession again. I think the rain has just eased and it's dry again. Up goes the pass from the back from Cher, but Robertson stepped in. Liverpool break forward. Firmino back to Robertson. Robertson with a little ball to Jota. Jota first time to Elliott. Elliott through the middle to Robertson. Robertson square. He should have scored himself.
Why didn't
Robertson?
Why didn't he score?
It, looking for Salah.
What is he doing? He's just lifted over the goal.
And that would have been a brilliant goal.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like we've been robbed, Chris, there. Here's St Maximin playing it to the edge of the box to Wilson. Now out to the left-hand side to Ritchie. I think that would have been one of the best goals I've seen this season.
Yeah, it was brilliant. One-two touch football. And why didn't he score?
Left-backitis, I guess. Here's Murphy now with St Maximin on the right-hand side. Back to Murphy again. Gordon with a touch. St Maximin. Liverpool still leading by 2-0. Going to be the first team to beat Newcastle here this season. Back to Cher. Cher to Gordon on the right-hand side. Gordon, little ball in. Might open up for Longstaff, who turns into space. Gives it to Murphy. Murphy out to the left-hand side to Ritchie. Ritchie controls it and then cuts back. Could have crossed it on his left foot. Gives it square. They want Botman to shoot. Instead, he plays it into the area to Longstaff, and it bounced away from Longstaff, and Liverpool were able to clear it.
That's the only concern. I think Newcastle's played well, I think, especially with 10 men. They've been excellent, I think. They've really given everything. But you just don't see them scoring goals, John, and it's been like that for the last few months, hasn't it? They've not scored a lot of goals, and they're not really creating that much neither.
No, Newcastle being short on goals. They've got the ball with Gordon, though. Gordon through to Wilson, bounces back to Gordon, but bounces away from him, and for Van Dijk, who was able to swipe a right foot at it, and then it's missed by Botman on the halfway line, but also bounced away from Firmino. So Newcastle with Dan Burn have it back. He enjoyed that. Dan Burn beat Firmino, and then a long ball from Botman looking for the run of Murphy down the right-hand side, but Robertson got there first to touch it out of play. Less than 15 minutes to play, plus added time. So 6:06, round about 20 minutes away, with Robbie and Chris. 08 085 909 693 to speak to them. Sam Maximin's off on one of his little runs from the right into the centre, and then passes it. And now Ritchie with the cross. Van Dijk just got his head to that to glance it away, and eventually the ball's allowed to run out of play by Murphy for a throw in 5 or 6 yards from the corner flag. Takes a quick throw to Gordon. Now to Murphy again. Murphy back to Cher. 10 men of Newcastle. They'll have played 3/4 of the match with 10 men after Pope was sent off in the first half. Ritchie over there on the far side goes back to the halfway line, and Newcastle will go back into their own half.
Well, you'd think sometimes in this game, John, you'd think Newcastle had the extra man. I mean, I'm surprised. You know, we're used to seeing Liverpool press, aren't we? Really getting the ball high off people. And
Maximin hits the pass down the right, St Maximin, and then in from Murphy, but he's got it all wrong, and he's hit it into the outside of the net at the near post.
We're used to watching Liverpool press and get the ball back, and then really, you know, play quick football and cause havoc, really. We've not saw that, and you can see why their results are very inconsistent, because even tonight, they've lacked that energy to go and close people down and win the ball back. And then when they've got it, they were all action. Now it looks really hard work for them. They're 2-3 yards off the pace for me.
Milner playing the ball right across the field behind Alexander-Arnold. But Liverpool back in action on Tuesday. 5 Live, the place to listen to Liverpool against Real Madrid, the first leg. All of these Champions League last 16 ties, home and away, you'll hear with us on 5 Live. And then also, likewise, Manchester United, Barcelona on Thursday night. Don't miss that with us. Here's Van Dijk at the back. Jota passing it out of play, actually. Hit it straight to Jason Tindall, who was able to control it and give it to Cher. Throw-in taken by St. Maximin. Chests it down, back to Botman. And now Longstaff has to stretch for that. Gordon, though, just steers it out here to Murphy. And then Murphy's low ball down the line for Gordon. Wilson waiting in the middle. He's the only man in a black and white shirt in the box. And in any case, Gordon can't get past Milner, who was able to dispossess him. And Liverpool will clear. Milner flick from Firmino, that was poor. That's presented it to St. Maximin. St. Maximin 25 yards out. He's on his left foot, going from right to left, turns onto his right, then back onto his left, and gives it to Byrne. And Dan Byrne couldn't find the pass through for the run, actually. It's a decent run from Ritchie, but then Alexander-Arnold is carrying it away, drops his shoulder, beats Byrne. He gives it to Salah. Salah running free into the box on the right-hand side, and the ball across is intercepted by the recovering Ritchie. Alexander-Arnold had got himself into position near the penalty spot, but that interception took it out for a corner.
I think that's a positive thing from Jurgen Klopp will take on the team tonight. The counter-attack, they've looked very, very threatening, all right. A few bad decisions, 2 excellent goals. A lot of bad decisions, I've got to say, during the game when they've had good areas, good possession in that final third. But I think that's the positive tonight. I don't think they played particularly well, Liverpool. I still think they've got a long way to go to be the Liverpool what we've been watching the last couple of seasons.
Crystal Palace away for Liverpool next weekend. Liverpool with a corner from the right. Elliott has gone out there as an option for Alexander-Arnold, who's created one of the goals in this match already. Alexander-Arnold then with the corner, an out swinger. Van Dijk going for it, but the defender got the touch on that and headed it away from the penalty area in front of the towering Lee's stand to our left. Gomez on the halfway line. Gomez gets his head down, finds a pass to Robertson. Robertson cutting in from the touchline. Milner's arrived. Milner back to Robertson, who slipped actually in these greasy conditions now. Oh, Gordon's given it away. Salah shot, but straight at Dubravka, who was very thankful there to present it to Mo Salah on the edge of the box on his left foot. Well, you're lucky to survive.
Salah had one thing in his mind, didn't he? He was definitely, and rightly so, he should shot, but RBA was in a great position if he rolled him in, but
still 2-0 Liverpool. Alisson passing the ball across the edge of the box to Van Dijk. 10 minutes to go. And Robertson in towards Milner. There were inevitable questions to Jurgen Klopp after Monday night's win against Everton and the way that Liverpool played, whether they would be able to get themselves into the top 4. Milner now running from centre field, taking it to the edge of the box. In comes the challenge. Ritchie actually coming across and helping to dispossess Milner, and now Gordon couldn't get past Fabinho, and Fabinho's able to just roll it back to Alisson. All in lilac tonight. The Brazilian clears it downfield. Murphy, though, for Newcastle, long and forward, but Wilson can't get there, and Van Dijk just with one touch finds Fabinho. Now Alexander-Arnold. Newcastle, I have to say, they look quite tired out there as Liverpool come forward. Alexander-Arnold just gets it back from Elliott. Infield to Firmino. That was sloppy from Firmino. Poor pass. Gave it to Gordon. It's 3 against 2 for Newcastle. Gordon to the edge of the box. Gives it square. Wilson with a chance, but Alisson comes out and makes a blocking save at the feet of the Newcastle number 9.
Well, there's a difference in it. Liverpool take their chances when they get counter-attacks like that. Newcastle didn't. Anthony Gordon did everything right. He ran and ran and ran. He drew all the Liverpool players around him. And Callum Wilson, you've got to say, you've got to put that in the net. At this level of football, you'll not get a better chance than that.
I think in-form Callum Wilson in his best form, puts that in the net.
Yeah, great job. But, you know, Well, the chances, they don't create a lot, Newcastle, and when they do, they've got to take them.
1 goal in his last 11 appearances, Wilson, which was that goal in the last match here against West Ham. 2-0 Liverpool lead. BBC 5 Live, listen as well to the live radio via BBC Sounds, or indeed to Callum Wilson and his Footballers podcast with Michael Antonio, the two of them. There's a new one out this week, you'll find that on BBC Sounds. Here's Jota on the left-hand side for Liverpool, deep cross from the dead ball line all the way to the right-hand side. It's raining again on Tyneside. Alexander-Arnold's ball back across. Fabinho plays it forward, but it hits Longstaff on the edge of the box, bounces down, and Newcastle can bring it away with 6 minutes to play plus added time. And St Maximin is challenged and sent sprawling by Milner, who enjoyed that.
Great challenge.
Yeah, he
Listen, he made a decision early there because he thought, I cannot run with him, but I'm going to make sure I tackle. And it was a great tackle. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think St Maximin's gone down there because he lost the ball, if I'm perfectly honest, but yeah, that was a great tackle, that.
Near the halfway line, James Milner, the now 37-year-old, so is St Maximin. He went down, went in, took the ball away, and got straight up on his feet, and it was a kind of,
Why run 2 yards when he might have to run 40?
Yeah. Well, he's okay, and I think St Maximin was...
Yeah, he's all right. Listen, he lost the ball. No,
yeah,
he's fine. I don't think he can get injured with all that tape he wears.
I think that was the issue. I think he had to put some tape back in place, which he has now done. 2-0 Liverpool lead, and Liverpool songs coming down from on high. Gordon, as Newcastle played out from the back, turns, gives it to Longstaff. St Maximin turns away from Milner, couldn't get in on him this time. St Maximin's pass across field, though, is intercepted by Salah, and Liverpool have got it back inside their own half. Alexander-Arnold takes it out towards the right-hand side. The rain coming down quite heavily now for the final minutes of this match. So Newcastle, after this disappointment, as I'm sure it will be now, it'll be all about building up to the cup final next weekend. 4:30 kickoff, by the way, on the Sunday next weekend against Manchester United. We'll have all of the build-up and all of the reaction on what should be an extraordinary day, really, with Newcastle United in a major cup final for the first time this century. And maybe even that's what thoughts are turning to. In the stands, the Newcastle United fans beginning to sing their songs, knowing, I think, that this game is gone, that they will lose here their final match before the cup final, just their 3rd defeat of the season. You know, that shows what a fine season it's been for Newcastle United. 3 defeats in all competitions.
Oh, they've done brilliant, haven't they? You've got to say, in the atmosphere, you're not getting a better atmosphere on any ground in England.
Oh, given away by Alexander-Arnold, but Alisson was quick onto it. And actually, I'm not sure St Maximin was as aware of that as he might have been, and as sharp as he might have been. And Alisson was able to clear it. Bounces off Firmino. Gordon plays it back into his own half, and actually Botman had to be sharp there for that not to be given away, and ending up with Salah. And then Ritchie's ball forward is blocked by Firmino, and Salah's going to get there first, although he is upended by Dan Burn, who didn't take any prisoners there with that challenge on Mo Salah.
No, he didn't. No, it
was okay, by the way.
It's a throw in. Yeah, he's got up to throw into Liverpool. There'll be no rush for this.
He went in and he missed it with his first foot, Dan Burn, but just caught it with his second. Otherwise, he might have been in trouble there.
I thought he was lucky there as well. His first one brought him down, didn't he?
So he did, but I think his other foot actually followed through and took the ball away. Here's Jota as the ball bounces away off Longstaff, and that'll be behind for a corner to Liverpool, who'll be in no hurry to take this. Liverpool mentioned Bobby Robson. So Bobby, his family are here today up in the stands behind us. Lady Elsie and his 3 sons, Andrew and Paul and Mark, are the special guests of the club today. Eddie Howe earlier this afternoon laid flowers at the Sir Bobby Robson statue, and the Robson family did the same before the game on what would have been his 90th birthday. Corner to Liverpool. Robertson takes this to Elliott. Elliott will cross it deep to the back post, and Dijk heads it back across, and it's headed up and away and wide and behind for another corner. Dan Burn getting to that first, so another corner to Liverpool from the far side.
Just running the clock down now. 87 minutes gone, and Liverpool no rush to take this.
There's a great banner actually in all of the flags, Sir Bobby Robson flags, a banner with a quote from Sir Bobby Robson that if we get a stoppage in play, it's worth just reading it. But it is a corner to Liverpool, and it's taken short to Elliott. And then in comes from Robertson to the back post, and Jota with a chance heads it down and wide.
What a chance.
And what a chance to end his long streak without a goal for Liverpool.
At the far post, inside the 6-yard box, about 4 yards out, free header, and he heads it into the ground, does everything right. Unfortunately, he doesn't hit the target.
That quote from Bobby Robson. What is a club in any case? Not the buildings or the directors or the people who are paid to represent it. It's not the television contracts, get-out clauses, marketing departments or executive boxes. It's the noise, the passion, the feeling of belonging, the pride in your city. It's a small boy clambering up stadium steps for the very first time as the ball is played forward for Liverpool, and it's bounced into the hands of Dubravka. The small boy clambering up the steps for the first time, gripping his father's hand, gawping at that hallowed stretch of turf beneath him, and without being able to think about it, falling in love. Great quote. Classic Bobby Robson, that, isn't it? Putting it very simply, what football is actually all about. Gordon knocking the ball back into Cher, and Cher's curling right-footed pass is flicked away by Van Dijk. Milner now. Milner infield towards Jota, who turns and finds Firmino, and then it finds its way to Elliott in the centre circle. A couple of touches from him. A galloping Alexander-Arnold is onto it, and a deep cross. Jota heads it across, and beyond the far post, Firmino flinging himself at it, foot first, almost at head height, couldn't get a touch. Goal kick.
Yeah, Newcastle feeling the pace. Great move by Liverpool from the left to the right. Alexander-Arnold again, we know he's got fantastic delivery. Jota's gone for goal. He's trying to head it back across to the far post. That was he's obviously gone for the goal. Firmino just cannot reach it. And Newcastle now, I think they've just run out of steam completely now, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Played 3/4 of the match with 10 men. Nick Pope will miss the cup final. Feeling seemed to be that it would be Loris Karius who would play for Newcastle then, which would be his first competitive appearance in the cup final against Manchester United. Did play when Newcastle went to Saudi Arabia and played while the World Cup was on. He did play there, but not played competitively. And of course, his last appearance for Liverpool on that infamous day for him when he was challenged, wasn't he? He was found to be concussed, if you remember, in the aftermath of that, let in the awful goal that looked terrible. Had an awful night. But what a chance for him, if it is to be him. Could be Mark Gillespie. But if it is Loris Karius, what a story that will be. But that's next weekend here in the Premier League. 6:06, only a few minutes away. 08085 909 693 to book your call with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. Liverpool on the way to victory here as Firmino through the middle to Elliott. A third goal will top it off. Elliott through to Jota, who goes round Dubravka and shoots goalwards, and it's cleared in the 6-yard box. There were 2-3 defenders back in there for Newcastle. So close to a third goal for Liverpool, but no, here they come again. Robertson once more. Robertson then back to Milner, having conceded 3 goals in each of their last 3 away matches in the Premier League. 3-0 at Wolves, 3-0 at Brighton, 3-1 at Brentford. They'd have loved to get 3 of their own here at St James's Park. There is that feeling that certainly, you know, they are improving now all of a sudden when things look so bleak. Salah through to the edge of the box with the angled pass. Dan Burn comes across and is then
corner,
deflects it out of play as he goes to ground to put it behind for another Liverpool corner in added time.
And he's got cramp.
3 minutes of added time. That seems light to me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think
Jota's last chance when he dribbles around the goalkeeper. He's just got to roll it in. He doesn't need to dribble around the goalkeeper.
It's Chris Waddle with us on 5 Live here at St James's Park. What is now a rapidly emptying St James's Park on a Saturday night. There are other attractions on Tyneside on a Saturday evening, as you may be aware. Fabinho plays it across St James's Park, just a short distance away from those attractions. Here's Fabinho to the left-hand side, Milner, and now Robertson. Robertson passing it through into the area to Jota, who tries to turn it back, but that was blocked by Botman, and it bounces back out to Firmino on the left-hand side. To Milner, Milner, low ball into the box to Salah. Salah turns, it's very tight in there. He's been able to work it back behind Milner. St Maximin in on it. Milner then in on it as well against Longstaff. Bounces away. Milner won it. Applause from the Liverpool fans for the veteran. Now Firmino turns against two Newcastle players in the full-back position, and Murphy's been able to shove it behind for a goal kick. So in the final minute now, the third minute of added time, just sum it up, Chris, today.
Well, I think Liverpool's very fortunate that Newcastle had the goalkeeper sent off. I think if it had been 11v11, I think we're looking at a different score here. I don't think Liverpool, they'll take a bit of confidence from this result. I don't think they played particularly well. But, you know, it's 3 points, and it may help the confidence, but they're well off the pace, Liverpool, for me, the way they normally play. So, you know, Newcastle played very well with 10 men, and they go into the cup final without their goalkeeper.
There it is, the final whistle. Jurgen Klopp turns and shakes hands with Eddie Howe. Good win for Liverpool. They're the first team to beat Newcastle here for 10 months since Liverpool won here last April, and they are 6 points behind Newcastle, who are currently in fourth place, but might find themselves out of the Champions League places tomorrow. This patchy run of form that Newcastle have been on, this might end up costing them that place in the top four.
Yeah, I think it could, John. I think they look very tired. All right, they played with 10 men. They've got the cup final, which has been on the mains probably the last couple of weeks. Big game against Man United, and then, as you say, they go back into league form, and it's difficult. People think, you know, they've had a great season so far, but every team has a blip, and this is Newcastle's at the minute, you've got to say. So, I mean, to finish top four would be amazing. I mean, I think they'd love to win the cup final next week, definitely. But finish top four, I think, is going to be a big ask.
But they will have Bruno Guimaraes back, who they've missed for the last three matches. They've not been able to win without him in the Premier League this season.
I think they've looked good, John. I think tonight they've played well with 10 men. It's just, you just don't see them scoring. You know, when they get a chance, they're not clinical enough. You don't think, chance, goal. Them first two goals by Liverpool in the first half, clinical, brilliant, absolutely top-class finishes. You know, and when you get Newcastle's chances today, Wilson and Pickler, they don't take them. And at the top level, you need to put the ball in the net when you create a chance.
And it'll be a great discussion point, perhaps, for 606. Who will play for Newcastle in goal in the cup final next weekend, with Nick Pope suspended, Martin Dubravka cup-tied. So it'll be either Loris Karius or Mark Gillespie, with Carl Darlow having moved away on loan. So that is it. The Newcastle players are actually going around the stadium to thank the supporters and preparing for that send-off to Wembley. But their final match before the cup final, they've been beaten here for the first time in 17 matches in all competitions, and it also brings to an end Newcastle's joint club record run of 17 league matches unbeaten. Liverpool are coming. They won it with goals from Nunez and Gakpo in the first half. The final score, Newcastle United 0, Liverpool 2. So that's it from 5 Live Sport this afternoon. More Premier League commentaries tomorrow. The two matches, you'll hear them live with us on 5 Live. But tonight, it's time to talk about it next with 606 and Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage.
Thanks so much, John and Chris, up at St James's Park. Great win for Liverpool, Christopher. I think they're going to finish fourth.
Do you? I mean, they sort of needed that, you know. I think the Pope sending off, as Chris Waddle quite rightly said, had a massive impact on the game. But I think if you're a Liverpool fan, I mean, let's hear from you tonight. Do you think that you've turned a corner now and you're gathering momentum? Do you think you're getting a top four spot like Robbie?
Manchester United firm favourites now. Obviously, the goalkeeper situation, as John explained there, for the Carabao Cup final for Newcastle United in fine form. Strong favourites next week.
Manchester United strong favourites, you think?
Yeah.
Do you know what, though? You know, as Chris Waddle said, Newcastle still, actually played pretty well in the game, didn't they? They are just fading a little bit, but Manchester United, under Eric Ten Hag, just unrecognisable from the start of the season. Rashford in that central role now, which is playing Weghorst in the 10 role. Manchester United fans, I mean, you think, Robbie, that Manchester United can still have a pop at the Premier League, don't you?
Well, if you look at it, Arsenal still got to play Man City at the Etihad. 8 points gap between Arsenal and Manchester United, those same games playing. It's going to be tough, but you never know, Christopher.
And let's talk about Arsenal, because you're in a situation where did you say they'd bottled it?
No, I said will they bottle it?
Will they
different
bottle it?
than they have? Will they?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting one. Want to hear from Arsenal fans, because I felt after the loss against Manchester City in the week that today was absolutely enormous. And with the Unai Emery factor, former Arsenal manager, and his determination to win the game for Aston Villa, I thought it was massive. I thought Arsenal passed that test with flying colours. Massive win today. And then Manchester City, the game you covered, you said Nottingham Forest only had one shot on target, and that was the goal. So let's hear from Manchester City fans. I mean, 2 points dropped today. Was it worth winning on Wednesday night when you go away then on the Saturday and mess up? I mean, Arsenal are still in pole position. Have they had their blip?
Anything else? What about Everton? Great win for Sean Dyche. Leeds United in the bottom 3. Southampton beat Graham Potter's Chelsea.
Want to hear from Chelsea fans, because Graham Potter, 2 wins in 14. They have spent an absolute fortune. Is it going to happen for Graham Potter at Chelsea?
Are you going to say sack him like you did with Nathan Jones?
No, he hasn't said anything absolutely ridiculous like Nathan Jones. But if you're a Chelsea fan, Rob, you're looking at this game today against Southampton, who are managerless. They are bottom of the table. They are all over the place, and you lose at home. Chelsea's standards the last 20 years have been so high. Let us know what you think, Chelsea fans. Is it the end for Graham Potter? But what needs to change? It isn't happening for him, is it? And Southampton fans, Ruben Sellers, at the end of the game, we saw like the players pushing him forward, looked like to be a popular figure. Of course, everybody was excited that they won the game. But we saw Jesse Marsch. Did he turn down the role as Southampton manager? Anyway, it looked like he was going to get the role. Didn't happen in the end. Let us know, Southampton fans. Is Ruben Sellers the right man for the job? And Leeds United, what on earth is going on there?
And are we going to get a live on-air apology to Michael Beale from your
What, from Michael Beale to me, do you mean? For a personal attack on me? You can call in, Michael.
What did he say about you?
909.
What did he say? Worst ever Chelsea signing, was it?
Yeah, well, he's a bit fragile, isn't he, I think?
Huh? 08285 909 69. I'd love if that happened. It won't happen. Any Rangers?
Call in, Michael. We're here. 08085 909 693. Or if you want to text in, Michael, 85058.
Time for the news on 5 Live with Jill McKenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds.